MercytheMad here, and today I've got a video that covers 3 different ways to confederate Imrik when you're playing as Eltharion in Total War Warhammer 2 Mortal Empires campaign on Legendary difficulty. Over the past week or so, I've been working on trying to figure out my sort of perfect way of starting an Eltharion campaign in order to get my sort of ultimate high elf campaign going. And what that means for me is playing or starting with a really powerful lord that has really good faction bonuses, which Eltharion does, and also confederating all of the high elf lords fairly early so I can enjoy playing with all those unique characters without sort of getting them much later in the game and the AIs already spent their skill points in the wrong places and that sort of thing. It's even a bit more urgent than that for Imrik, because although he will sometimes survive into the late game, he quite often gets killed off by a Snickich or one of the other enemies around his starting position. I've found that 17 turns is a good benchmark. It may be possible for him to die earlier than that, but I've never actually seen him get wiped out before turn 17. So as far as I'm concerned, any strategy that gets you Imrik by turn 17 reliably, is a good strategy. The first method, and probably the most straightforward and reliable way to get Imrik, is to send a noble agent to make diplomatic contact with him. So on turn 1 in Grunty Mingle, just build the Elven Gardens building that allows you to recruit the noble. That will take 3 turns to build and be completed on turn 4. So you've got to just make a mental note on turn 4. You have to remember to come back here and recruit an Elven Noble on turn 4 if you don't want to lose any time, because you want to be sending him off as soon as possible to discover Imrik. And whenever you're going for these early confederations, you want to get the maximum amount of influence you can get. So make sure that you fight every single battle involving an enemy lord manually so you're having a chance to capture them with the Warden's Cage ability. After the battle, choose the Ransom Captives option. Gives you +1 influence per turn for 5 turns. Then go into the Athel Tamara interface and execute the captive. That will give you +8 influence on the next turn. You'll see a buff in the bar at the top of the screen. You can only have 1 of that buff though. So if you capture a second lord in the same turn, don't choose execute again, otherwise you'll lose that extra 8 influence. So to get the maximum amount of influence per turn, once you've already executed 1 prisoner for the 8 influence, the second prisoner that you capture, you're going to indoctrinate. And that's going to give you +4 influence. So then when you look up the top in your buff bar, you'll have 1 for +8 and 1 for +4. Whereas if you did 2 indoctrinates or 2 executes, you would only get the 1 of that buff. Okay, turn 4, recruit the noble. If you've taken over Galbaraz, that'll be slightly closer, but it doesn't make much difference. Just summon the noble at either Galbaraz or at Grunty Mingle. Don't spend any influence, you'll need every bit you can get. Just buy one of the ones that don't cost influence. And before the end of each turn, you want to be moving that noble over towards the Plane of Bones where Imrik starts off. Don't just let the noble move by himself though. Every turn, come back and manually move the noble yourself. If you leave the noble to just move automatically over the end turn, there's a chance that it'll bump into an enemy agent or army, especially in this area near Karak Azul. There's quite a bit of traffic there. And if he bumps into an enemy agent halfway through his movement, he'll stop and just waste half a turn's worth of movement. It's also really important that you discover Imrik's faction, the Knights of Caledor, on your turn and not over the end turn. You might discover Imrik on turn 11 or turn 12, depending on whether he's expanded up into this region. As soon as you discover Imrik and get the faction encountered message, it's really important that you do not enter diplomacy with him. I repeat, do not enter diplomacy with him. The first thing that you need to do is go into your Intrigue at Court menu. Then spend as much influence as you have to get his relations up to 80. You must have more than 80 relations for him to confederate. Normally, if you raise relations with influence, the effect will not apply instantly. Their relations will trend up towards that value over a number of turns. But if you do it on the exact same turn as you encounter them, and before you've spoken to them in diplomatic options for the first time, it will apply instantly when you enter diplomacy. And this will allow you to confederate Imrik on the exact same turn that you first encounter him. And this is important both to make it to him and locate him as soon as possible and confederate him as soon as possible, because there's a 5-turn cooldown on confederation. So once you confederate Imrik, you have to wait at least 5 turns to confederate the next lord and the next lord and the next lord. So if you want to confederate all of them, you need to kind of cut down on these turn times here and there to try to condense the whole process as much as possible. But even if your object is not to confederate all of the lords as fast as possible, I still think it's useful to understand how these mechanics work and have the option to do it as quickly as you need to do it for your particular campaign. Now, if for your particular strategy you do need to do it even faster than turn 11 or 12, there is a slightly faster method, and that is to move directly to Imrik's starting position with Eltharion, or exchange Eltharion for another lord and then move that lord. You will disband all of his units in order to save on upkeep. Since the lord method has a 3-turn head start, and you'll be able to move in forced march to go much further each turn than the noble, you should be able to get there a lot quicker. However, if you go the same way that the noble went, past Spite Peak and Grom's faction, you're very likely to get attacked with your vulnerable solo lord by Grom's armies. However, if you go this other way, past Black Crag, you should be relatively safe, and you should be able to make contact with Imrik by about turn 8. Again, do not enter into diplomacy. First, go into the Intrigue Court menu and spend all your influence to try to get Imrik up to 80 relations before you talk to him in diplomacy. That way you'll be able to confederate him immediately on the same turn. The last method that I can think of isn't really that practical. I can't think of any reason why you would prefer this reason over any of the other ones, but I thought I'd include it here just for the sake of completeness. If you move Caval as soon as possible towards Caledor, you should be able to get diplomatic contact with Caledor on turn 3. Not that it's going to help you that much, because you won't have enough influence to be able to spend that on Intrigue Court before you go into diplomacy with them to confederate them immediately. So you'll still have to build up the relations from there. But if you can confederate Caledor, or when you confederate Caledor, you'll immediately get vision on Imrik. So instead of sending a noble or sending a lord over to discover Imrik, if you're just doing other stuff around Ulthuan, and you want to confederate Caledor while you're there, that will give you vision on Imrik. And then you can then pump influence and money into Imrik to get his relations up and confederate him that way. But yeah, as I said, it's not a very fast way, and that's going to stop you from confederating somebody else that you could have been confederating instead of Caledor in that time period. So this is my ultimate Eltharion campaign that I've been working on. Currently on turn 30. You can see I've got Eltharion also confederated at Alariel, Teclis, Alithanar, and Imrik. Still got Tyrion, saving Tyrion for last. Should get him in the next few turns, and yeah, I'm really happy with that. This is going to be a fun campaign, and I've kind of got everything I wanted to get done in the early campaign to sort of get all my lords ready to go, so I can then kind of play out the rest of the campaign with all of my Pokemons. Just wanted to thank all of the guys in the community that kind of banded together with ideas and experimentation to help me fulfill my dream of having my ultimate All Lords Confederation campaign. I didn't quite get the fastest turn time on this particular run. Some of the other guys have beat me, but I'm very happy with it anyway, and I'm really proud of the way that everybody kind of contributed and kind of help. Some people were sort of helping each other with ideas. Some people were kind of working on their own, and just a lot of cool cheeses and strategies came out of it. So yeah, congratulations to everybody that was involved. For this particular video, I wanted to particularly thank Kryh and expert Fromager. It was mainly their ideas that I was showcasing here. So good work, guys. But yeah, everyone did a really good job, and yeah, it was really fun to be part of it. So there's a lot of different parts to my ultimate High Elf campaign and my ultimate Eltharion campaign. This was just kind of one of them. How to get Imrik, basically. I might do 1 or 2 more videos about some different parts of it. There's also the infinite money cheese with Eltharion, which is optional. You don't need to do that. That obviously makes it a lot easier though. Beat Tyrion into Confederation video that I'll try and link on the end of this one is also a part of it. So there's the Beat Tyrion is the first one part. Then there's the Get Imrik and yeah, I might do a video for some of the other trickier lords to get as well. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys, and yeah, that's all I got. Cheers.